Hello. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's start. So if you have any query, please share in the chat box. Okay. Some issue in the audio maybe. Okay. In the last few classes, we are discussing about the software development lifecycle model, and all of you have give some presentations on different topics, and the presentation was nice. Okay. Now in today's class, what I'm going to discuss a overview of the all the life cycle models. So basically, for each and every life cycle model, what we have to understand is that in which situation or for what kind of software I have to use what kind of software development model. Okay. So initially we have discussed waterfall model, where I have discussed the definition and when to use waterfall model, its advantages and disadvantages, and in most for all the life cycle model, everyone have go through it and share their PPT about its advantages and disadvantages. So do I need to repeat it again? Do I need to repeat the advantages and disadvantages again for each and everyone? Okay. Saidu Sheikh, yes. Wilson Tripura, yes. Okay. So let's start with rapid application development, that is RAD model. Okay. Now I will mm, let's start with RAD model. So basically, what is RAD model? It is a linear sequential development process. This is linear, that is one by one. Linear sequential software development process model that emphasizes a concise development cycle using an element based on construction approach. That is, in RAD model, the software, the approach we are following to develop a particular software, the approach follows the sequential model. That means one by one, model by model. If there are different models in the software, we develop one model, do everything, then go to the model number 2. Then once we complete model number 2, then we go for model number 3, then 4, then 5. That means we in different software model, we approach the approach is different. But in case of RAD, the approach is like, suppose in a software there are 5 models, we are developing one by one. That means we perform the data modeling, data processing, application generation, then testing, everything for model 1, then we go for model 2, then we go for model 3, something like that. Right? Rapid application development model, that is RAD model. Let's do one thing. I will share the notes. Okay. I will share the notes later. Just first of all understand. Now the next point is, we have already discussed about the phases. I am not going to repeat it again. The second point is when we should use this particular RAD model. Okay. Basically, this model is very much suitable when this particular software development model is very much suitable for short term of projects, for short term project which can be modularized. That means if a project can be developed by module and for a short period of time, for this kind of software, this particular model is suitable. Next, when it is the next point is similar to waterfall model, that is when the requirements are well known. Why we should know the requirements very well? Because uh, we are start developing model by model. We complete one model, then we go for the next model, and in between this, if the requirements may change, then we have to change the model one also. That's why this for this model, requirements should be well known. Okay. Similarly, the next point is when the risk is limited, because we are planning, we are targeting a small project for a short period of time. We don't have so much time to analyze the risks or requirements, something like that. We have to complete it within a very short period of time. So that means where we apply this model in such type of projects where risk is limited. That means if we are familiar with this kind of projects or for a very small project, in this case, this particular model is very much helpful or suitable. And the next point is very important, because nowadays when we go for any kind of development, we found that different tools are available where we can generate the codes. For example, suppose when we are going to design a website, initially or very first time what we do, we go for a notepad, we open a notepad and we try, we are writing the codes for HTML. But nowadays there are different applications which allow us to generate the codes. We have to, there is some GUI, you have to go access the GUI and you can generate the tools, generate the codes. For example, suppose Dreamweaver, WordPads, where no need to write the codes. You can select the applications, you can select the operations available in the platform by default. Then once you select, it will automatically generate the codes. If you can allow this, if your project allow this kind of applications to use, then you can go for RAD model, because it requires less time span. So in this situation, we can use this particular life cycle model. Okay? That means when for a very short period of time, when it can be modularized, if requirements are well known, if risk is limited, and if we can use automatic code generation platforms or tools. Then if it satisfies this criteria, we can go for this particular model. Then next advantage. The first advantage is the model is flexible. Obviously it will be flexible because it helps you to develop a project model wise, and it should be a flexible one. Next, in this model changes are adoptable. Changes are adoptable. That means next, it reduces development time. Obviously it will reduce the development time because in this model we can use the automatic code generation tools. It increase the reusability of features because we develop a model completely and we got everything for a particular model. Now when we go for the model number 2, then we found that some portion will be is similar with model number 1. Then we can directly use that portion from model number 1 to model number 2. That means we can reuse this code. It's the basic features of object oriented programming. Because the main challenge of using this model is that you have to be highly skilled, or the technician or the developers who are involved in this particular model, they should be highly skilled because you are you have to generate everything within short period of time, and where you are using some advanced tools, and you complete the projects model wise, you cannot change the models. Okay, then first challenges or limitations, basically challenges, or we can also say the disadvantage also, and it requires highly skilled designers, that means developers. The developer should be highly skilled. And if a application which is not compatible with the RAD model, that means if it is not flexible, it is does not allow automatic code generation, then we cannot use this model to develop that kind of software. Next disadvantage is when the risk is very high, we cannot use this model because in the when to use part, we have already discussed that when the risk is limited, then only you go for this model. So that means when the risk is high, we are not, it is not preferable to use this model. And here user involvement is very much required. User involvement because we are developing model by model. Okay? That means for every model you have to do the testing, and for testing there is a part where the user needs to do the testing. That means for each model, for completion of each model, the user involvement is very much required. Okay, this is all about the RAD model. I will share the notes, don't worry. Did you get the idea of RAD model? It is basically a linear sequential model where we develop the entire project model by model. And for this is the situation where we normally use this. And these are some advantages and disadvantages. Is it clear to everyone? Can I move to the next phase, next model? Okay, thank you. The next model is spiral model. Okay, now what is spiral model? So when we go through the design of the spiral, you will see that there is a circular path which assessing the same phases in multiple times. That means in RAD model, what we do, we complete one model which consists of all operation of the particular model, then we go for the next model, then we go for the next model, and we go for the next model, model wise. But in case of spiral model, what they do, the development is not based on the model. For example, suppose if you are developing a web-based system where you have to do the registration, you have to do the login, you have to do the search, you have to search something, you have to delete, add everything. So in RAD model, what they do, suppose they develop the interfaces first, model 1 suppose. Then we go for the model number 2 where databases are done. Suppose for example. But in spiral model, what they do, they are not emphasized on a individual model. They focuses on a particular area and complete the entire task. Suppose if you design the login phase or if you design the registration phase, to complete the registration, you need the backend support. That means the database. So in a spiral model, what they do, in a particular circle, they develop the entire necessary development. They complete the entire necessary development. That is, suppose you design the registration page along with you design the database portion of for registration. Then it completes one. Then you go for the next page. Then that means everything. Gradually the size of the circles are increases. That means it covers more portion of the project. That is called spiral model. In spiral model, basically the software is developed in a series of incremental release. That means gradually we add more features and accordingly we complete the development. This is called spiral model. That is this is called spiral because it covers a particular portion, then it completes, then it covers the another portion, it completes, then gradually it increase its area of coverage, and at some end it will complete the entire project. Okay, this is called spiral model. It is little bit different from the RAD model, where in RAD it focuses on a particular module wise the development is done, but here not exactly module wise, where it focuses on some area of development where it completes its design. Okay. Now, in which situation we follow the spiral model? Basically, okay, as the idea of spiral model indicates that basically this type of model, or this model, the spiral model, is basically suitable for large projects, because for a small project we can go for the entire development in a single attempt, but when the project is large, then we have to develop it portion by portion. Then that means when the project is large, we can go for a spiral model. Next, since the project is large, you have to give the update to the user or client. That means when you have to deliver the updated models or updation to the client frequently, then now I have added these features. If you design a model, then you deliver it to the user so that the user can check. Then one by one you add the features and update the information. Just now I have uh, updated these features, kindly check. Okay? That means then the other situation where it is preferable to use spiral model is that when the requirements is not clear. That means the client is not sure about all the requirements. In that case, better to attempt the entire project, attempt one step by step. Design the portion. Project large. It is useful for large project and critical project. Why? Because when you go for a large project, the amount of analysis of different categories like risk analysis, feasibility study analysis, everything is done in a high amount.
That means it is suitable for large project, and the advantage is that where the risk analysis is done in a large amount. What are the disadvantages then? The disadvantage is that, first of all, high cost. It will cost a high amount of money. Then, for doing a large amount of analysis, we have highly skilled developers. And if we try to develop a small project, this particular model does not work well. That means the methodology which is used in small projects. Okay? Because here you have to do a large amount of analysis, and for small projects we do not need that much of analysis because it is small projects. Requirements are fixed. Then if you are applying spiral model in that situation, then it will be a waste of time, money, and everything. That means the amount you have invest the money.
Am I audible?